Word of warning, the character of Master Voluminous is simply that, a character. He might not be evil, but he is definitely a bastard. So try not to let what he says offend you, okay? Enjoy. Welcome to Voluminous Reads. I am the mighty Master Voluminous, teacher, commentator, and most importantly, to you, storyteller. In the nation of South Africa, it is currently Women's Month. So in honor of them, we will begin the Voluminous Reads series with the first of 6 stories about women. What kind of women, you ask? Why, everyone's favorite kind. Victims. See, these women are all in abusive relationships or dangerous situations. And upon reaching their breaking points, they receive a visit from Phinki. This spirit, this creature, spawned from the abyss, brings with it pain and suffering, and then with an obnoxious, maniacal laugh, takes its leave. If the story intrigues you, I'd suggest picking it up on Amazon. Phinki by Enyadike. Now enough of the promotion. Let's introduce our first person of interest, Thando Ndelu. Thando Ndelu. It is late at night. A young woman sits in her room, staring blankly at a mirror, hand on her stomach, mind empty. Her hair is messy, her eyes are red, her cheeks stained with tear streaks. The door of the room opens, and her eyes turn to see her husband uneasily walking in. He smiles half-heartedly, but she looks at how his hand is placed behind his back. He opens his mouth, but no words escape, closes it, and looks at the floor awkwardly, then back up at her. Her expression remains the same, but her body is tense. He takes a step forward, and her jaw clenches, her body shifting away slightly. This does not escape his notice, but he continues to get closer, reaching out with his free hand. She stiffens, her eyes widen as she stares at his open palm. He halts and pulls it back, looking down and closing his eyes. He takes his other hand from behind his back, pulling a small brown case into view. She looks at it, then up at him. He gives another half-hearted smile before slowly placing it on the table in front of her. She looks at it again, then back at him. He still fails to find words, so he gestures at the case. She continues to look at him with a stone-faced stare. He looks down again, looking for something, anything to say, but finds nothing. He slowly leaves the room, looking back at her with a sad glance before shutting the door behind him. She goes back to looking at herself in the mirror for another 30 minutes. Her eyes wander down to the case. It is rectangular, smooth, and shiny. She opens it, up to slowly see a piece of paper with the words Ndelu, I'm sorry. She gently places it on the table. In the case sits an object wrapped in a white cloth. She picks it up, feeling a smooth, flat surface on one side and a curved lump on the other side. She unwraps the cloth and sees a golden medal around a pink jewel. This jewel resembles an eye. A golden lanyard hangs on one edge, and she examines it, seeing that it is some sort of medallion. She puts her head through the loop and lets the lanyard hang on the base of her neck. The golden medal around the strange eye jewel rests just above her breasts. She sits and stares at the mirror again. Her husband returns, sees her wearing it, and smiles. A genuine smile. He slowly walks over, squatting down and gently taking her hand in his. He can feel her shaking and squeezes it gently, making her stop. She sighs, but continues to look at her reflection. He gets up and kisses the side of her head, and she closes her eyes. A strange tingle starts to build up in her stomach. The tingle grows to become uncomfortable, making her groan slightly. He frowns in concern as she cries out, doubling over in pain. The discomfort has become pain, a specific pain, the kind born from a swift impact. She hears sounds, yelling, swearing, a thud, something hitting the ground. Her nose is bombarded with a burning scent, one found as a result of ingesting an equally burning, foul-tasting substance. She falls to the floor. The image of her legs enter her mind. Then she sees blood running down to a tiled floor. He helps her rise to her feet and sits her on the chair. She sees the jewel in the mirror. The jewel sees her. There are aches all over her head, face, hands, itchiness on her skin. She sees red, then pink, then black. Her husband is screaming again, and she is laughing? Louder and louder until only one of them is heard. It is daylight. The laughter has stopped. She is standing in the living room. There is blood everywhere, on the floor, the walls, and the furniture. Her husband, or what's left of him, is at her feet. She can feel blood and flesh on her hands and in her mouth. There is a loud, frantic banging on the front door, as well as yelling. The door is knocked down and policemen run in. They point their weapons at her and demand her compliance. She does not hear them. She continues to stare at the mass of clothing, flesh, and bone before her. Tears flow. Her body shakes, and bile rises from her stomach. As she is taken out of the house, she notices how naked her neck feels. The medallion is gone, but not the laughter. No, not the laughter. But she is the only one who hears it. My, how horrible. To think, the poor woman, everything she must have been feeling. And then at the end of it all, she gets arrested. And she's not entirely sure why. And you want to know where the author got the idea from? He watched a soap opera. A Mexican one, actually. Funnily enough. A woman was thrown in jail after killing her husband, who was allegedly abusing her. Apparently, she'd been making several calls to the police, but they didn't do a thing. And she was left to take matters into her own hands. Sadly, Miss Ndelu here does not seem to have the same willpower, shall we call it, or the same drive, murderous instinct in her. The monster just takes all of her negative emotions, brings them to the forefront, and turns her into something else. And I'm sure, for many women who potentially find themselves in that situation, that might be how they're feeling. That's how many of us feel when we're pushed over the edge. That there's something else taking control. Truly sad. Well, I hope that was a delightfully disturbing experience for you. Be sure to tune in next time. And welcome to Multifarious Arcadia. Goodbye, dear listeners.